There are 7 YouTubers that perfectly represent the 7 deadly sins, and we'll be talking about all of them, starting with envy. Envy is usually thought of as being jealous of someone else's life or possessions, but taking envy to the highest possible extreme is wanting to physically become someone else. The YouTuber Oli London's obsession with the K-pop star Jimin is a sad but perfect example of the sin. In October of 2018, the show Hooked on the Look, which covers people who have gotten extreme cosmetic surgeries, released an episode covering Oli, who at the time had spent over $100,000 to look like his idol Jimin. In the episode, Oli discusses his various surgeries, including having all the fatty tissues removed from his chest, reducing the size of his eyelids, and 4 rhinoplasties. The bizarre episode quickly went viral, gaining mainstream media coverage and spreading massively throughout every corner of the internet. Overnight, Oli went from a nobody to a somewhat infamous semi-celebrity. On February 2nd, 2019, Oli made his first major move, capitalizing on his newfound stardom, releasing a song called Perfection. The song was unsurprisingly hated, but what was surprising was that it peaked on number 31 on the iTunes K-pop charts, adding legitimacy to the idea that Oli could turn his infamy into an actual career. The fact of the matter was that Oli was becoming somewhat famous for his erratic personality, but mainly because of his strange obsession with plastic surgery. His addiction may have reached a peak when he released a video titled Being Korean, where he explained that he had fully racially transitioned into an Asian person. The video marked the absolute peak of Oli's popularity, but it also revealed something very insightful about Oli as a person. His addiction isn't necessarily to plastic surgery, but more so the attention he receives from it. Even though Oli may have lost his dignity because of his sin, he still has his freedom, which is something that can't be said of our candidate for pride. The sin of pride is generally understood as believing you're greater than you actually are, especially when you feel the need to have your greatness affirmed by others. The YouTuber Omi in a Hellcat, whose real name is Bill Omar Carrasquillo, uploaded his first video on May 16th, 2019. The video opens with Omi walking out of his mansion and passing over a dozen of his all-white cars. Considering the fact that at this point he hadn't made any income off of YouTube, how did he get the money that allowed him to afford all of these luxuries? To answer that question, we'll also need to answer the question of how pride corrupted a very promising man's life. Omi started the journey into his sin when he discovered that he could make an insane amount of money by jailbreaking and reselling Amazon Fire Sticks.
And that's how I started making a lot of money. Buying these boxes from Amazon already preloaded and just reselling them for more money. I became a millionaire after a year.
Omi started his next and much more legal venture in 2017, about 1 year after he started selling his Fire Sticks, by creating his own television network called Gears TV. The network was created when Omi purchased an encoder from China, which he used to strip the encrypted access codes from almost every major cable television provider. He then streamed the cable TV onto his own dedicated servers and offered people access to these servers for a $15 a month fee. This was an insanely good deal for the customer, as paying for all the networks that Gears TV offered individually would cost upwards of $300 per month. This scheme would be what enabled Omi to really start bringing in the money, as it became one of the most used pirated television networks in the world. As Omi's income was really starting to ramp up, he shifted his focus away from the IPTV space and stopped talking about it entirely, likely because he understood that the more money he was earning, the more alarm bells he would raise for the government. Omi's fears materialized when on November 20th, 2019, the FBI raided his property, repossessing nearly all of his assets. After the raid, Omi would continue to post on his YouTube channel until March 7th, 2023, he was indicted for his crimes and was ordered to pay tens of millions of dollars to the IRS and the cable companies, along with serving a 5-year prison sentence. The sad part about Omi's story is that it's clear he has big potential, but his towing into pride meant he wanted to take the easy way out to get more money, more success, and more status without having to put in the real hours it takes to achieve those things legally. Even though Omi engaged in criminal behavior, it's always clear how important family is to him, which is difficult to say about our candidate for lust. Countless YouTubers have had their careers destroyed by scandals that involve them acting inappropriately. In a vast majority of these cases, the YouTubers did not want these scandals to happen and usually lost massive amounts of status and income because of them. So when choosing a creator for lust, I chose someone, while definitely having their fair share of scandals they didn't want, chose to deliberately place themselves in one that would permanently ruin their image for their own financial gain. Adam22 is the creator of one of the most influential hip-hop podcasts on the internet, No Jumper. No Jumper is an extremely successful podcast and has a bevy of sponsors, merchandise, and YouTube ad revenue. That alone would be enough to make Adam a multimillionaire, but as with most of these YouTubers, enough is never enough. So Adam decided to launch a new podcast, Plug Talk, where Adam and his girlfriend talk to a actress and then engage in certain activities after the show, which can be accessed through a paywall. The Plug Talk podcast continued to run successfully for over a year, doing little damage to Adam's reputation, but everything would be turned upside down when his girlfriend Lena posted the following video to her Twitter.
Hey guys, guess who I'm shooting with today? It's finally happening.
This would be the first time that Adam's girlfriend Lena, now fiance and mother of his 2-year-old daughter, was creating content with another man. On nearly every podcast Adam and Lena went on, they spoke about the decision, always citing monetary gain as the reason they made the choice. But this begs the question, at what point is the monetary gain worth the destruction of your reputation and the sad reality that one day your daughter will find out what mom and dad did even though they were already millionaires? Regardless of his sin, Adam is still on YouTube, which can't be said for the person who represents wrath. Wrath is pretty simply described as uncontrollable anger, and as many of you have pointed out in the comments, there may not be any YouTuber, in this case ex-YouTuber, better to represent uncontrollable anger than Low Tier God, otherwise known as Dylan or Just Dale. Dale created his channel over a decade ago where he primarily posted comedic skits that included himself and his friends, but his channel would take a wrathful turn when on November 12th, 2013, he posted his first ever semi-viral video. The video was essentially an unhinged rant hating on his fellow YouTuber Boogie2988.
This is a video to some fat on YouTube named Boogie2988. I'm tired of this fat popping up in all my search engines when I'm looking for a workout video.
Around this time, Dale also began posting gaming content that focused around the game Street Fighter. This game in particular is where he would gain his self-ascribed name, Low Tier God, meaning he chose to play as characters he thought gave their player the biggest disadvantage in matches. While uploading Street Fighter videos, Dale would slowly but surely begin to grow a small but dedicated community. His fanbase at the time would take notice how Dale would never take responsibility for his losses in game, always blaming his loss on unfair game mechanics or his opponent's dishonorable playstyle. Dale also built up a reputation for exiting the match he was in right before he lost, which is against Xbox terms of service. This behavior, combined with his rage-filled Xbox Live messages he sent to players that had beat him, resulted in 3 IP bans by Microsoft over the course of several months, each time forcing Dale to buy a new console so that he could keep creating content. It was also around this time when Dale began attending in-person Street Fighter competitions, and it was at one of these competitions where he faced off against his biggest rival, a fellow Street Fighter player named Viscount. Viscount and Dale met a few months prior in an online match where Dale would end up losing, prompting him to create a video titled Why Most Gamers Are Single, where he used an image of Viscount to demonstrate an unkempt gamer. This rivalry came to a head when a few days after the video was released, Dale and Viscount faced off in real life at a LAN Street Fighter event set up specifically for them. At the match, Viscount completely destroyed Dale, and in his remarks after the match, he delivered the line that would permanently scar Dale's ego and become immortalized in internet history.
There's gonna come a point when you forget about what happened, and you're gonna wanna come back at me, and you're gonna wanna wash the taste of my out of your mouth.
Traumatized by his loss, Dale only degenerated further into wrath until about 10 months ago his account was permanently banned. Even though he's banned on YouTube, Dale has continued to grow his online presence, which isn't happening for the next YouTuber on this list and our candidate for greed. In YouTube history, there are few creators that come close to having a fall from grace as meteoric as Illuminati did. Illuminati, otherwise known as Blair, was once an extremely respected YouTuber known for creating documentary-style content which aimed to expose greed in big companies and general corruption throughout the world. Ironically, it would be Blair's own greed that led to the views of her once flourishing channel look like the price chart of a dead meme coin. We can actually pinpoint the exact moment down to the minute when Blair's greed triggered the complete destruction of her YouTube career. At 12:35 April 20th, 2023, Blair posted the following tweet.
Not legal eagle editors broaching my editors to take my video style. When they didn't give up the info, they literally copied it. And by the way, I have the messages from my editors and found an email from them too. Just change the color from purple to blue, huh? Interesting.
Blair was attempting to accuse fellow YouTuber Legal Eagle of plagiarizing her editing style, a bizarre accusation because the editing technique in question was a simple ripped paper effect along with a basic After Effects highlight, both techniques which have been used for years before the Illuminati channel was even created. Following this tweet, an onslaught against Blair was launched, with past collaborators calling her out for some pretty horrible behavior. All in all, Blair lost nearly 400,000 subscribers after her controversy, all because she leaned into greed a little too much, as it's pretty safe to say the Twitter onslaught would have never happened if she didn't try to claim a very basic editing style as her own. Even though Blair receives a fraction of her previous views, at least she still tries to create her own content, which is something you can't quite say about our candidate for sloth. As I've talked about before, sloth is a very difficult thing to assign to a successful creator. Any big creator on YouTube has no doubt put in a massive amount of effort to be in the position they are in. For example, if we look at MrBeast, he has giant systems in place that allow him to create his awesome videos on a consistent basis, but Jimmy himself still works day in and day out to create the best content possible. So for sloth, I chose someone who still works hard, but not with the goal of making the best content possible, but the laziest and most soulless videos possible, entirely motivated by money and money alone. This person is Quebblecop, or Jordy, the once prolific gaming creator who is destroying any legacy he once had with his new mission of churning out fully AI generated content. For Jordy, we won't go over his backstory as it isn't relevant to his sin. Just know that after years of grinding, he gained the status as one of the biggest gaming creators on the platform. But after his years of grinding, he informed his audience he was suffering from burnout. As a result of burnout, Jordy began to channel his energies into other ventures, including an NFT launchpad, a video game studio, and a third company designed to create AI generated content. At first, this AI company would start out minimal by launching a VTuber named Blue. Most of Blue's channel, at least at first, was based on human input, but things would take a darker turn when Jordy posted the following tweet.
After 11 years on the platform, I'm ready to retire as a YouTuber. I've successfully cloned myself and will have AI run my YouTube channel. This is a very open and public experiment, and I'll be the first creator to do this, as far as I know.
On the 1st of August 2023, viewers would see the first version of AI Quebblecop. As expected, the AI video was completely soulless, having none of the charm that the real Jordy has in his older videos. In a quote-unquote response video, Quebblecop AI said it just wants to make people smile, but looking underneath the surface, we can see the true motive is profit and profit alone. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with having profit as a motive for creating content on YouTube, but the reason why what Jordy is doing puts such a bad taste in the mouth of his audience is because it's obvious that this profit is made using methods that require the least amount of human input possible, giving him his rightful place with the sin of sloth. Despite his slothful practices, we could definitely say that Jordy is successful, a difficult trait to ascribe to our candidate for gluttony. In my original sins video, I selected a YouTuber by the name of Nikocado Avocado for the representation of gluttony. Even though Nikocado and this video's YouTuber are similar in a lot of ways, they do have one key difference: awareness. Love him or hate him, it's important to understand that Nick is a master of the YouTube algorithm and online marketing in general. He has 6 successful channels that bring in millions of views, a merch store, a Patreon that's earning him a bare minimum 5-figure income, and a popular Cameo account in which a short personalized video cost $149. To say the least, the man knows what he's doing and does it very well. On the other hand, we have this video's candidate for gluttony, a YouTuber by the name of Foodie Beauty or Chantel. Chantel garners less than 5% of Nick's views, and her only avenues of monetization is the small amount of money she gets from YouTube AdSense and livestream donations. Although similar to Nick, she began her channel making a completely different type of content than she posts today, makeup tutorials. But like most gluttonous YouTubers, there would come a point in time when she began to realize that eating food in front of the camera led to more views than whatever kind of content they were creating previously. For Chantel, this moment came when she uploaded a video on February 16th, 2017 with a description reading, "This is my first ever mukbang." After seeing the success of this video compared to her previous beauty content, Chantel decided to gradually make her entire channel focused on eating excessive amounts of food. These mukbangs, combined with her oversharing, led her channel to slowly build up an audience of hate watchers that begin to meticulously analyze and track all aspects of Chantel's life, relationships, and eating habits. A chart was even made outlining her cyclical pattern of behavior around attempting to lose weight, which was aptly named the Chantel cycle. In the first stage, Chantel realizes she wants to lose weight and makes a big announcement about it on her channel. The announcement would be followed by her favoring healthy food choices and smaller portion sizes during mukbangs. The second stage is marked by Chantel admitting she was binge eating again off camera and warning viewers that if they made any negative remarks about her, comments would be disabled. In the third stage, she disables comments and video ratings, returning back to massive portion sizes and fast food binges once again. In the fourth stage, Chantel makes an emotional video where she explains she's been going through a lot and says she's been thinking about starting a new diet, and then re-enables comments. The especially sad thing about Chantel and her channel is that out of all the gluttonous YouTubers we've covered so far, she's been the least effective at monetizing her sin. On the bright side, Chantel does seem a lot more happy recently as she's moved to Kuwait with her new husband and converted to the faith of Islam. Despite these positive changes, her gluttony has shown no signs of slowing down.